Yeah. As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning, New Haven, and welcome to the Bike Month takeover of the Tom Ficklin radio program here in New Haven. Hey, welcome, Caroline Smith.
Hey, Doug. Good morning.
My name's Doug Hausladen. I'm the Vice Chair of the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation, one of the lead partners of the New Haven Bike Month celebration this month. Love Caroline, if you could say hello and introduce yourself.
Of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Caroline Tomby Smith, and I'm one of the organizers of New Haven Bike Month that has been supporting on making a special National Bike Month happen during May.
So I think we've got some really special guests ahead for us today, and I'm really excited to be co-hosting with one of my favorite Kentuckians, one of my favorite fellow Kentuckians. Just a reminder for everyone out there that the Derby is this weekend, so it is our greatest export. But today we're talking about not horse transportation, but the innovations that led to two-wheeled revolutions, and then from there on, even more. So I'd love to, just as a framing, the National Bike Month is a League of American Bicyclists celebration, been around for about 50 years, and an opportunity for cities and communities to get together and ride bikes and talk about how to make bike-friendly cities. So Caroline, I know you've been organizing and putting a lot of energy in this since 2015. You want to help listeners better understand what New Haven Bike Month is all about and what we do here?
Absolutely. Thanks, Doug. Yes, for those that don't know, New Haven Bike Month is a completely volunteer-run organization that helps to put on National Bike Month right here in New Haven. And as Doug said, Bike Month is a month-long celebration of biking that happens all throughout May. And I think the kind of foundational belief of New Haven Bike Month is that every single person in this city and in this amazing city should have a voice in what the future of transportation looks like. And so this year in 2022 has been really special. I think the most valuable part of planning across the last 2 to 3 months has been just the broad coalition of volunteers and supporters, sponsors, and organizers that have really made this month possible. From a Bike Month perspective, it's been wonderful to partner with the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation as our lead partner on making this month happen. And just a huge thank you to all the volunteers that have put on over 30 events that are happening across multiple neighborhoods in the city throughout May, whether it's rides, celebrations, gatherings. There's so many events to go through, but it's going to be a really exciting month. And I think especially after a challenging couple of years where we weren't always able to gather together because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I think it's going to be a special month to be out there, for it to be warm, and to be sharing space together and sharing rides together in a way that's safe. And so I think that's going to be a special part of the month. I'd love to pass it over to Mayor Elliker. We have Mayor Elliker here today, and just excited for you to share a little bit about your perspective around biking and kind of the state of transportation in the city right now.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here with a lot of familiar faces and talking about an issue that I care very much about, both from the personal perspective, but I think it's a really important issue from a policy perspective, providing more opportunities for people to safely access different forms of transportation. From a climate perspective, there's a value in supporting public transportation, walkability, and biking. And as a cyclist myself, I primarily use my bike to get around town, not as much for recreation. In New Haven, I've lived in a good number of places, and New Haven is the best place that I have ever been for just the terrain and the ability for one to get around easily on a bike, right? Things are relatively close, things are relatively flat. And so the environment here is such that it makes it really easy for people to use bikes to get around and use bikes as a tool. We obviously have a lot more work to do, I think, to make it feel safe for folks. But I love ride my bike both with my kids. We did Rock to Rock this weekend, and using it to get around myself. I would say that I think one of the most inspiring things about New Haven is the advocacy community that is involved in so many different ways. It's actually one of the ways that I started getting involved in community in New Haven myself, going to Elm City cycling meetings and participating in some of that advocacy. And there's so many things, as Caroline mentioned, going on the advocacy side, and the advocates are a really good partner with the city in helping elevate this issue, but also pushing the city to think more deeply about ways that we can not have a car-centric society dictate everything that we do. And I have a stat that I've been provided here. New Haven ranks number 5 as far as the nation's mid-sized cities. That's being with a population of 100,000 to 200,000. Number 5 with 12.4% walking to work of our population, and at number 10 with 2.7% of the population using bikes to get to work. So that is a testament to the fact that so many residents are using bikes and walking to get to work. We got to get that number up even higher, and I think some of that is on the education side, some of that's on the enforcement side, and on the infrastructure side. And we've got a lot of good projects going on that front.
Mayor, speaking of great projects, I think it's incredible to have a mayor who is cycling to work. I know we've had some cycling events for mayor before, but you're a mayor who is cycling, every day in every weather. Can you talk about a little bit of those infrastructure projects that you're really excited about seeing and your team's working on to roll out?
Sure. And I cycle to work, maybe let's say almost every day. I know that we're focused on cycling here, but for the next month and a half, you can take Connecticut Transit for free, which is ridiculous. You just hop on, no one asks you for any money or anything. You sit down and go on the bus. It's the most wonderful thing ever. And so I've been taking advantage, and it's a good opportunity, frankly, for people that I think a lot of people are kind of nervous to take the bus for the first time. It's a good opportunity to try it out. And once you start using the app and realizing that it's very, very easy and predictable to use the bus, you can start a new habit, which is a great thing for a lot of different reasons. But a lot of ongoing projects around the city. Edgewood Cycle Track is something that I know, Doug, you worked on for quite some time, and it took some time to get it close to the finish line, but we're looking towards the end of summer to finish it. I know most of the infrastructure is in place. We've got a little striping and signaling to complete, but that's going to make it much safer for people that are living on the west side of the city to come to access downtown. Whitney Avenue, we're looking at a potential cycle track there, or 2 separated bike lanes. We're working on the final design there. There's a lot of infrastructure improvements as a part of our major corridors project. So in addition to Whitney Avenue, Howard Avenue, Sherman Parkway, are a couple others that are higher on the pipeline as far as completion. And that'll be complete streets that will do some traffic calming, and depending on the street, it'll be a cycle track or separated bike lane. Also important to mention, there's some longer trails, and what I think is really important is making sure that one component of bicycle infrastructure connects with another so that people can get where they're going entirely safely. So you'll see the Canal Trail is getting close to completion. Behind Coffee on Audubon, there's construction going on there to complete that final section that will get to the Grove and Grove and Orange. And that will be in the long term connected to new infrastructure that we just got a large portion of state funding for on State Street for a separated bike lane. And we're also looking to complete a shoreline greenway trail. We're going to be talking more with the community about what that should look like in the future. But that could potentially connect folks from New Haven all the way up the shoreline with miles and miles of trail that will allow people to commute, but allow people an additional recreational opportunity, which is really exciting, especially as someone, my wife and I have really young kids, and I'm always nervous about them riding on the street. And so having these separated bike lanes or an infrastructure that's totally out of the street is something exciting, because our kids will be able to use it safely.
Yeah, that's a great segue into how can how can folks continue to engage with the city and the projects that are coming out? There's so much activity going on. I remember when there was a Justin Elliker who signed the New Haven Safe Streets, who supported the New Haven Safe Streets Coalition and the 2008 Complete Streets Bill, as well as the 2010, Yale engagement we did back in the day. What's the best way for folks to stay engaged and to help, as you mentioned, help work with the city to keep moving a cycling-friendly city forward?
So I'm still Justin Elliker, but I think that oftentimes when new projects happen, whether it is new street pavings or construction projects and such, the people that are upset about some component of the project show up to public hearings, and we don't as often hear from people that like the direction that something is headed in. And I would encourage people that are positive about a project to show up at a community meeting, at a public hearing, to voice their concerns to my office, their alder representative, because the important thing is, I think, that we think longer term about what our city looks like. And oftentimes we will be hindered by just thinking about things in the traditional sense of the word, dictating a project around how many parking spots are available rather than thinking about the whole picture. So I would first encourage people to just share their voice, share their opinions on the direction that they want to head in. And then I think the second part is on just using more active transportation as much as people can, because the more users that we have out on a bicycle, out on the public transportation, gives much more awareness to other people that may not know that that's an opportunity for people to get around. So sharing their own experiences there, I think, can really help us get our numbers up from 12% people walking, a little bit over 2% for people biking, to many more people that will help our city become a more friendly place for all users.
Thanks so much, Mayor. In a few moments, we'll hear from one of the sponsors of the National Bike Month celebration here in New Haven, AAA. And just wanted to pause and remind everyone that you are listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live from downtown New Haven with our current mayor, Justin Elliker, who is our first cycling mayor, I think. I don't know about anybody from the 1800s, but fairly confident you are first to be a true cyclist in the office. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like to, you're not alone in being a cycling mayor, but you're very, more rare than we think. Can you talk about what it's like to be someone who's using all of the active transportations, foot, bike, and bus, and what that means for engagement for you and your constituents?
So a number of things. First of all, it's easy, right? I think that's the most important thing a lot of people don't understand. You hop on a bike, you don't have to pay for parking. You're usually there faster than the car because of traffic issues and everything else. And so it's most things in New Haven are really close, so it's easy. And we're trying to make it even easier with access to more parking, bicycle racks and things like that. Second, I think that as you experience different things, you're a wiser user, you're wiser in your ability to make decisions, right? I drive, I ride the bus, I walk, I ride my bike. And every one of those experiences gives me a different perspective. Driving gives me a perspective about biking that I think educates me on what a driver might feel and some frustrations a driver might feel. On the flip side, biking gives me a perspective about driving. And so I think having all those different experiences helps me do my job better. It was funny, I got on the bus the other day and there were some people in the back of the bus that were like, hey, is that the mayor? He's taking the bus like a normal guy. And I was like, I am a normal guy, but I also think it makes life a little bit more real when you can interact with all different people in all different environments. And it can be pretty fun too.
Thanks for that answer, Mayor Elliker. I have a fun question for you. What's your favorite place to ride your bike in the city?
Ooh, it's a great question. I have a couple of favorite places. So if I'm by myself, I like riding out to Long Wharf and to because Long Wharf has, I think it's the first Doug would know this better than I, but separated cycle track in the state. Doug, is that the case? I'm getting a thumbs up there. And it's so beautiful, and you end up at the nature preserve there. So it's just this gorgeous site that it's this little gem that a lot of people don't know about in New Haven. With my kids, so the roads in East Rock Park have been closed since the beginning of the pandemic. Tons of people using the roads from all over the city, biking and walking and jogging. And with my kids, we go and ride around the closed roads because it's really safe and pretty and a nice place to engage with some community members, but also get some exercise in a safe way.
Thank you, Mayor Elker. We are so excited to have you here and have you in office and leading the cycling revolution going forward. We really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. So Mayor Elker is going to jump off, and I'll invite Alec Slatke from the AAA New England to introduce himself. AAA has been a terrific partner in sponsoring National Bike Month here in New Haven, and also in engaging in issues up and down the commuter spectrum. He's been at so many meetings engaging with our residents. And Alec, why don't you say hello from AAA? Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Doug. Hi, everyone. My name's Alec Slatke from AAA, and we're based just north of the city in Hamden, but really, really excited to be partnering and sponsoring the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation this month for Bike Month, because we know it's so important to make sure folks have the equipment they need, have the education they need to bike safely, and we're committed to doing our part to educating drivers as well about how to interact safely with cyclists, because we know a lot of times there's a lot of acrimony on both sides, but this, our members are multimodal. They're taking their cars, but they're also riding bikes, they're riding the bus, they're riding the train, they're walking. So, I don't want to just say, let's live in harmony as drivers and cyclists. Much easier said than done, but that's what we're working towards.
That's great. Can you, I know AAA, most folks think about it as an automobile organization, but our benevolent chair, Karen Jenkins from the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation, would remind me that AAA may have been founded as a bicycle with a bicycle bend. And also, for those that aren't aware, even if you don't have a car, AAA is great for your membership because you have bike services as well. Can you explain a little bit more about what's going on with AAA?
Sure, we do. We have, just like you think about AAA, you're driving and you break down, we'll tow your car. We'll come try to service you on the side of the road, and we actually have similar service for bicycles. So if you're driving or riding rather, and you get up to Meriden, say, and you get a flat for whatever reason, we can come try to help out or pick you up and take you home. So we're really excited to offer those benefits, and absolutely right about the history of AAA. I mean, the Good Roads movement was in the late 1800s, and that was really an effort from bicyclists and farmers as well to make sure that the roads were available for commerce and that they were in good enough condition. And this was before the automobile was even invented. And so once we had the AAA, which was formed about, I guess, 120 years ago in 1902, there were only 23,000 cars on the road in America at that point. And it was really, at that point, you had to be very wealthy if you were owning an automobile. But I think there was a good partnership between the bicycling community, and actually a lot of the most avid bicyclists became some of the most avid motorists. And they saw the importance of roads across the country. And in 1916, that was the first time that there was federal aid to state and local highways. And that was something that both AAA and bicyclists had worked on. So we're really, we're getting back to our roots here a little bit.
Well, thanks so much. And if you're online watching the screen right now, I just remembered that I could share my screen. So I've been showing some of the Northeast AAA offerings for bicycle service, 24-hour roadside assistance. So as you're out there getting back on your bike for Bike Month, if you need help, call 1-800-AAA-HELP to have a roadside assistance come to you. Alec, thank you so much. The New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation has been so blessed to work with you. Can you remind other bicycle organizations what type of funding opportunities you might have for future sponsorships?
Sure. So we have a variety of different charitable committees internally that, we're always looking for ways to support safe mobility, to support equity, which is, both of those things are right in the coalition's mission. So feel free to reach out to me or, get in touch with Doug and he can put you in touch with me and we'll do our best to see if we can work together. But we are, we're really excited because it's a great cause and a great effort.
Thanks so much, Alec. Appreciate you stopping by and saying hi. We're going to switch over back to the rest of the programming. But again, AAA Northeast is a great organization. They're located just outside of New Haven. Please check them out for some membership opportunities. So just pause again, just to remind everybody you're listening to Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live from downtown New Haven. Caroline, New Haven Bike Month's been doing a lot of activities since 2015, if I remember correctly. And one of the favorite things I've ever witnessed Bike Month do was the wheelie competition in Fairhaven and the Blatchley Avenue Open Streets event. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the ways in which engaging our community has been a real hallmark of New Haven Bike Month movement and what folks can do to volunteer themselves or host their own event.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doug. Yeah, it's something that's been special about organizing Bike Month in the past few years is it's always taken the shape of the volunteers and the individuals who have dedicated themselves and put in the passion and the work to make events happen. And so Bike Month looks a little bit different every year as a result, which I think is what makes it special. And yes, you're bringing up open streets events, which I totally agree are some of my favorite events. For those that don't know what open streets are, they take a lot of different shapes and forms, but for us with Bike Month, it's meant working with neighborhood organizers and volunteers to close down a street in their neighborhood and put on basically a big party, a big block party, and a party that really centers biking. So things like we would have free bike repair from the incredible folks at the Devil's Gear Bike Shop or the Bradley Street Bicycle Co-op to do free bike repair. We would give helmet giveaways as well as bike giveaways. We've had some incredible partnerships with folks like the Cornell Scott Hill Health Center, among many others. And what Doug's mentioning is also one of my favorite open streets. A few years ago, in Criscolo Park in Fairhaven. A lot of credit goes to Will and Franco, who were the resident organizers, who put on a wheelie competition. And, the real heart of that was that we have a lot of young people in our city who ride their bikes and who are incredibly talented and do wheelies down the street. And we wanted to take a moment to really celebrate the incredible talent that exists here in this city, especially our young people. And so we had a wheelie competition, and Mayor Harp was there, and the Alder was there to give away trophies to the winning wheelie folks and participants. So that was really special. And we have a whole range of different events happening throughout this month as well. Happy to go through a few of those, but just to highlight open streets, I totally agree. That was one of my favorites as well.
As you can see on the background, if you're online, you're going to be seeing some promotional video. That was a wrap-up video from a few years ago at New Haven Bike Month. But one of the best parts, I think, about Bike Month has always been the community gathering. And Caroline, without me plugging you to ask you about open streets, do you have a favorite event that's being scheduled for this year?
Wow, it is hard to choose a favorite. I'm looking at the list right now. A couple that come to mind. One is we are partnering with the New Haven Free Public Library to do during Bike to Work Week, which happens between May 16th and May 20th, to do a Bike to Bomba ride. So an incredible Bomba group is going to be performing at the Wilson Branch in the Hill neighborhood. And we're going to be having refreshments right outside, and you can bike and get refreshments and then also enjoy an incredible performance. A couple other events, there's a group called Radical Adventure Riders that's doing a Satter Sleigh mountain bike ride. And that's really for femme, trans women, and non-binary folks And they've been doing a lot of incredible work to make sure that biking is really inclusive in the city. And so that's an event that's coming up. Definitely check it out on the calendar. And then lastly, I have to give a really strong shout out to the Friends of Farmington Canal. This month in May is going to be the 200th birthday of the Farmington Canal on May 20th, right in the heart of Bike to Work Week, or just sort of capstone Bike to Work Week. And so they're going to have, they're going to be celebrating that with birthday cake and breakfast. And it's going to be a really, really great way to cap off Bike to Work Week.
Absolutely. And again, if you're online, I'm scrolling through the calendar. Where can they find the calendar and how to get involved, Caroline?
Yep, the website is www.newhavenbikemonth.com. There's a contact us form right on there where you can volunteer. There's many different ways to plug in to the month. So just reach out to us, shoot us an email, fill out the form, and we'll figure out a way for you to get connected.
And I'll just thank Caroline. I know she has a prior commitment coming up in just a few moments, but the next event on the calendar is today is a bit of a virtual kickoff. We really did kick it off with Rock to Rock on Saturday, and then National Go on a Bike Ride Day on Sunday. But tomorrow at 1 p.m., Mayor Elliker will be joining Connects Credit Union, which we'll hear from in a little bit, as well as the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation. And we're going to be cutting the ribbon on a new bike loan for electric bicycles through the credit union. I'm terribly excited about this idea. I had a hand in helping get it going, but really thanks to Carl, who's on from Connects. We'll talk with in a little bit. Tomorrow, Mayor will formally kick off the National Bike Month here in New Haven on May the 3rd. But with that, thank you, Caroline, and thank you, New Haven Bike Month, for all you do. And we'll pivot over to the city of Hartford and hear from a friend of New Haven's, Nat Gale, who's a recent relocated Connecticut, I think is what I'm going to go with for today. But Nat, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the city of Hartford is up to this bike month and this summer?
Yeah, thanks, Doug. And great to be here. Great to hear from Caroline and Mayor Elliker. I just want to start by saying I grew up in Hartford, and growing up in Hartford, New Haven always felt very far away, very distant. Not a place that I frequented as a young person. But now being back in Hartford, I just moved back about a year and a half ago with the Hartford line. I regularly go to New Haven for a day trip, for a date night. And it's just such a joy to be connected to our fellow cities in that way. So if you haven't gotten on the Hartford line recently, grab your bike. They allow bikes on the Hartford line as well. So, I encourage folks in New Haven and Hartford or anywhere along the line to explore our great cities and towns.
Nat, let me just jump in and say that I've been calling Hartford North New Haven, and I've been calling New Haven South Hartford for a little while, just to get people to realize a 30-minute train ride is not a different city. Yeah. It's definitely not a different state, and it's really one Connecticut that we're seeing linked up with transit. And you mentioned the fact that you like to ride to work on the bus. Mayor Elliker talked about the free buses through June 30th, but I'm happy to report that in today's budget discussions at the state of Connecticut, there's a conversation going on to keep that free transit available through December the 1st, which, is such a game changer. And how will that support everything going on in Hartford this summer for you?
Yeah, that's great news. I'm here to talk a little bit about what we're doing in the city of Hartford this summer. We're starting an open streets program called Domingo Hartford. And Domingo is our signature open streets program. I'll start with a little bit of background on what open streets are. For those of you who are online, I am sharing some images here. Open streets, as Caroline mentioned, they can take a lot of shapes and sizes, but what we're modeling in Hartford really started about 50 years ago and I'm sorry, I got some automatic advancing there. So I'll go no slides. Open streets started 50 years ago in Latin America. It was in the city of Bogota, Colombia. They were facing two intersecting crises. One was a public health crisis, an obesity epidemic, and the second was a gas crisis, an energy crisis. Gas prices were going through the roof. So their Recreation and Parks Department came together and said, what can we do to meet both of these crises head on? And so they had a very simple idea. They said, for one Sunday, let's take 10 miles of city streets and open them for people-powered transportation. So you can't, use your car, you can't waste any gas, and you have to be out and active and healthy, right? So your heart healthy, you're being physically active. And it was a huge success. People got on their bikes, they got on their skateboards, they, got in their wheelchairs, and they, were able to move throughout the city in new ways. Now that was 50 years ago, one Sunday. Today, in Bogota, Colombia, in Mexico City, Mexico, in Guadalajara, Mexico, they do this every Sunday. And in big cities, they do it for over 100 miles of streets. And so, it's been a real movement to show how streets can be used in different ways, right? And so in the States, over the last 10, 15 years, big cities like Los Angeles and New York and San Francisco, and small places like Cambridge, Massachusetts, Fort Collins, Colorado, and even West Hartford have started to explore with this concept of open streets. So we're doing it here in Hartford. It's a proven concept that has physical and mental health benefits. It has economic benefits. Businesses that stay open on the Sunday for open streets show an increase in economic activity. And it even has public safety benefits. Studies have shown that there is a decrease in violent crime in communities where there are open streets on that day. So we're programming the fourth Sunday of every month from June through September, and we'll have 4 different routes. One will be on Farmington Avenue, which is a major east-west corridor. One will be on Park Street, which is another major east-west corridor. One will be on Main Street, starting in the north, going down through downtown into Colt Park. And then a 4th route is to be determined. We're still in the sort of route planning phase. This is a core strategy of our post-pandemic recovery. I think somebody mentioned to kick us off that, through COVID, we've all been stuck inside. We've been, dealing with the stress of being isolated and being alone. And so this is a way for our communities to connect with one another in a safe and healthy way. We'll be programming, various health and recreation activities. So there will be 3 activity hubs along each route. And that will be an opportunity for Zumba classes and yoga classes and basketball and other sort of recreation activities. And there are passive ways for people to experience the day just by walking, biking, or pulling up a lawn chair and watching the city go by. I want to give a big shout out to our co-partner. Our main partner is Hartford Healthcare. They really provided the support to get us off the ground. And we're partnering with AARP and Cigna and other sort of neighborhood organizations. All the different neighborhood groups are going to have a presence in our activity hubs. AARP is somebody I want to highlight because this, I think a lot of people think of biking as like something that young people do who are fit and active, right? But the benefit of an open streets program is good for folks young and old. The mental health benefit of just getting out and being in community, especially for our older adults who often feel more and more isolated as they age, is huge. And to make sure that for folks who may have mobility issues, giving them an opportunity to get around for open streets. We are bringing in pedicabs. So there'll be free pedicab rides up and down the route throughout the day. So that'll be leaving from each of the activity hubs. So if you don't feel comfortable riding a bike, that'll be an opportunity for you.
Let me just interrupt and say,
please.
How does the city go about? Obviously, you're in the city, you're an employee of the city of Hartford, but I know your background is also from the LADOT and other organizations in LA that has a Ciclovia LA as well. I don't know how to say that phrase, but can you talk about, in your experience, sometimes there's a chicken and an egg problem. I'm someone who doesn't like to spend a lot of energy without the money in hand. No money, no mission, I once learned from a very wise friend of mine. But can you talk about getting off the dime and how do cities get started with this? And how did you entice a healthcare industry to work with you?
Yeah, great question. So this really was an idea that came out of some community conversations and some city conversations, right? So there were a couple different members in community who had this idea, who were very interested in seeing what can happen. And then with my background, my experience, I started having conversations internally in the city as well. what we did is about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, April of 2021, we hosted folks from the Los Angeles Ciclavia program to have a virtual open house for how they did this in Los Angeles. And we invited people from different neighborhood groups, people from the city, and basically said, can this work in Hartford, right? Tell us how it worked in LA, and let's start a dialogue on can this work in Hartford. After that, we visited every NRZ, which the NRZs are the neighborhood revitalization zone groups, the sort of community groups, and asked that question. Made a presentation on what this could look like in Hartford and can this work here, and basically got people to say yes, we're interested in this, or no, we don't think this is right for us right now. And some communities said no. Some communities said we're a little concerned. We've got a lot of business activity on Sunday. We've got a lot of churches on Sunday. And so, that was really good feedback. And then, we brought this to Mayor Bronin and asked, for his, blessing to put some of the city resources behind it, right? Because we do need our police department to staff the open crossing points, and we need our public works department to put up all the barricades. And, that's not an insignificant amount of staff time. And we need marketing dollars and planning dollars. And so after we got the internal buy-off, we then started to go to potential partners. And Hartford Healthcare, because this type of program is so grounded in health and recreation and physical activity, it was just a no-brainer for Hartford Healthcare to support it. And so we're just so fortunate that they came in and got us the ability to get off the ground for this first year.
That's great, Nat. Thanks so much. And I think in a minute, we're going to turn to Brendan Smith from the city of Hamden, talk a little bit about what the city of Hamden's going to be doing to make a cycling friendly city and their recent application to the Leave American Bicyclists. But Nat, for a new resident, but a newly engaged cycling activist like Brendan, what would you recommend on how best to engage his municipality?
Yeah, I would say, reach out to, your key contacts at the municipality and just start with a conversation on what their priorities are and what your priorities are. I think as somebody who's worked in government most of my career, government employees are often overworked, right? Especially in smaller municipalities. And so, making sure you're building a relationship that is grounded in how can we mutually support one another. I think, there are going to be times when you need to advocate against, your municipality. And I think you want to make sure that doesn't set up a difficult relationship by sort of laying the foundation of, how can we work together when times are good and when we have resources to share. And then I would just say, there's no one solution to, making a city bike friendly, right? There are dozens and hundreds of ways to do this. Open streets is one thing, right? Bike month is another thing. It's all about, looking at, is the city tackling the engineering approaches necessary to build the infrastructure? Is there a coalition who can help educate and encourage people to get out there and do it safely? Following that sort of 5 E's model, right? Like where do the, members of the public fit into that model, and where can you push the city to do a little bit better and work alongside them?
Well, the city of New Haven is blessed to have a friend like you, and thanks so much for letting us come up and pick your brain as so often as you have. We'll see you at least on June 26th, or at least I'll see you on June 26th for a volunteer day. Where can folks find Domingo Hartford?
Yeah, thanks. I will share my screen for the end here. Please check us out online at www.domingohartford.com. You can sign up to volunteer there. You can follow us on Instagram at DomingoHTFD or on Facebook at Domingo Hartford. And you're welcome to just reach out with an email, info@domingohartford.com. Please do mark your calendar, June 26th, our first route on Farmington Avenue. We think it's going to be a really amazing day. And if you can't make that one, we've got July 24th on Park Street, August 28th on North Main Street, and then September 25th route still in development. So thanks for the opportunity to talk about Domingo, and just great to be sharing resources with our sister city, New Haven.
Thanks so much. And it's so great to see the Hartford line going to get activated, because everyone can take their bike on the Hartford line, especially if it's a CT rail operated Hartford line. You can also buy the $6 Amtrak pass to get up there, and, which we recently did. And we'll talk about e-bikes and e-bike day pretty soon after we talk about Hamden and Albertus Magnus. But thanks again to Nat Gale from the city of Hartford, and good luck with the Domingo. We'll see you up in Hartford this summer.
Thanks, Doug.
Brendan Smith is someone who has been emailing and discussing and talking about bikes for some time. I think, Brendan, if you could just say a quick hello from the city of Hamden and remind everyone, myself included, which commission you're on and how you're coming at this.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Doug. Longtime biker, first time caller. Yeah. So I'm with the Hamden Energy Use and Climate Change Commission. So we're an advisory commission that advises our mayor and our legislative council on energy related issues and climate change related issues. So both looking at ways to mitigate carbon emissions and climate change, but also save money for the town at the same time. So we recently, so I think what we bring to this call is, as Doug alluded to, kind of the perspective of just starting our bike advocacy approach to our city. So bikes are just kind of one of the irons that we have in the fire, and it was sort of my pet project to introduce to the Energy Use and Climate Change Commission. And similar to what Justin Elliker said, it came personally from having kids. So I've been a longtime biker, and I would say that Hamden is kind of at the level of experienced biker. It's a safe place to ride for an experienced biker, but it's not a place for I would say not even intermediate bikers to, and certainly not beginner bikers. And I have young kids, as Justin said, and as my daughter got old enough to want to bike to school, we started biking to school, and it's only about a mile and a half, but the route that we had to take in order to make it so that I felt safe bringing my daughter was a very circuitous route. And so I brought it to the Energy Use and Climate Change Commission. And as Doug mentioned, our first approach to tackle this was to submit an application for the bicycle-friendly communities through the League of American Bicyclists. And basically what that is there's an online questionnaire where you go through various stats and for your town, and they will award give you award anywhere from bronze to diamond, depending on how you scored on the various criteria. And honestly, I wasn't surprised to find that Hamden didn't even get the basic bronze or the honorable mention. Say again?
Did you get the honorable mention?
No, we didn't get the honorable mention even.
Okay.
But that's kind of how that's what I expected. And I was, I don't want to say I was happy that was the result, but it should reflect the baseline of what you're dealing with. And that was my experience there is that, like I said, for experienced bicyclists, it's reasonably safe, but Hamden has, which I think is probably typical of a lot of suburbs surrounding municipal, surrounding bigger cities. It has some geographic challenges for bike friendliness. So rather than having kind of a flat grid that we can follow, it's more like a spoke network of roads coming in that kind of funnel into New Haven. And a lot of Hamden roads are built to kind of just funnel you on and off of those roads, and those being primarily Whitney Ave and Dixwell. And I, even as a relatively experienced bicyclist, I don't ride on those roads.
Yeah. And well, Brendan, let me jump in and just
go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll ask Edward Dunar. Forgive me, Edward. You'll have to pronounce your name correctly. How do I say your name again?
Dunar.
So Edward Dunar, who's a Worcester Square resident and someone who's activating as well his own institution, which is Albertus Magnus College, which is right on the border of Hamden. I would love to check in with Edward and just have him explain as well, like what is your finding in organizing a bicycle-friendly university using the same metric from the League of American Bicyclists?
Yeah, so we are very much at the beginning of our planning process for our bicycle initiative. And I'll quickly introduce myself and what I'm all about. I'm Edward Dunar. I'm the director of the Meister Eckhart Center for Catholic and Dominican Life here at Albertus. This is a newly established center that basically is meant to reinforce the mission and values of the Dominican sisters who founded Albertus, and then also continue to sponsor us through the Dominican Sisters of Peace. So what does this have to do with bicycling? Well, two things. First of all, biking goes all the way back to the sisters who founded Albertus in the 1920s. They used to bike to what is now Lighthouse Point Park every Saturday as they were founding the college. But second of all, this is an important part of Catholic social teaching that's even more prominent now. So when the college signed on an international commitment to make the campus more sustainable, it was important to host it out of our office to put forth the message that sustainability is central to who we are as a Dominican Catholic institution. And I would say because we're so early in the planning process, there are really three priorities we're looking at. And Doug is very helpful in helping us think through this. The first is that a biking culture already kind of exists on campus. It's just hidden. So a fair number of staff and faculty bike to work. Some students bike as well, but they usually store their bikes in their offices where people can't really see them, so we don't talk about it very much. So our first intention is to install bike racks strategically around campus so that people who are already biking can use them. And then others who might be on the fence or might not be aware of this as a feasible option can see them and think maybe this is something that I can do too. The second thing that we're going to do is try to expand access to bicycles for students on campus who don't already have them. So this will probably take the form of a bike library. So students can come to a centralized location, they can check out bikes for a few hours, or perhaps a day, and they can use it to go to a work and internship site. They can use it to run an errand. They can use it to go out on a daily excursion or have an adventure. And the third thing is the education piece, moving people along wherever they happen to be in their relationship with cycling. So this will involve safety workshops and even classes on how to ride bikes. I have to admit, although I've been a long time cycling advocate, I myself still need to learn to ride a bike. So I'll be learning alongside my students, but also generating a sense of excitement around biking by hosting excursions to different parts of the city. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach. So my goal is that we weave cycling enough into the culture of how things work at Albertus that, for example, during a stressful exam period, it feels natural for a student to check out a bike, go just half a mile to the Farmington Trail, and spend an afternoon clearing her head and reconnecting with herself and nature. Or maybe on a Saturday afternoon, a group of friends get together, take out bikes, and go to a park or go to Long Wharf once Farmington Trail is completed. So it's kind of a process of building on what we already have, but then also thinking about what the grounds of possibility are for biking to be a part of our culture here.
Edward, that's amazing. And I cannot thank you enough for emailing the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation, myself, and asking for help. I think it's a sign of extreme strength and wisdom to be able to know where your resources are and how to get a hold of them. Speaking of which, I'll ask Brendan from your neighbor to the north in Hamden, if you could unmute really quickly and just let folks know how to help you in your mission of making Hamden better, or what's the next step for Hamden? Is there a meeting coming up that people can attend?
Yes, we do have a meeting on May 9th on Monday evening. You can look, I don't have it in front of me, but you can look up the Zoom link on town website. But you could also reach out to me at hamden.euccc@gmail.com. And we're happy to partner with anybody that's already working on projects in Hamden, or anybody in New Haven that wants to kind of move momentum from New Haven into Hamden, please reach out.
Thanks so much, Brendan. And Edward, how about yourself? I mean, you sound like you got a great foundation building as well as the early wins and early projects. How can folks in Albertus and the neighborhood get in touch with you and touch base?
Definitely. So I would encourage anyone not familiar with Albertus to go to our main website, albertus.edu. It's a great resource just for learning about what we're all about and the various things we're involved with around the community. For me personally in the center, you can get in touch with me at edunar, EDUNAR at albertus.edu. Again, because this initiative is new, we're open to collaborations and conversations and learning.
Thank you so much, both Edward and Brendan, and thank you for taking the next steps in making your communities, whether it's a city or a university, bike friendly. So we'll pause for station identification and be able to touch base on a brand new program from Connects Credit Union, as well as our legislative efforts in SB4. So you're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH LP 103.5, streaming live from downtown New Haven and virtually in your living room. Up next, I'd invite Carl Casper to unmute and to say hello, as well as Kate Rosen. The three of us are going to wrap up the hour here talking about how to get even more people into this cycling revolution. Carl, good morning. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, Doug. It's nice to see you virtually again. My name is Carl Casper. I'm Executive Vice President at Connects Credit Union. Located here at World Headquarters in North Haven, Connecticut, but as you know, we have a presence in New Haven. The credit union started in New Haven almost 85 years ago, so we very familiar with with New Haven. And so, further introduction, let me just I am a cyclist, and I've been a cyclist, and so when this idea came to me, and I think it was through one of our board members, who Doug. I was really excited to try to put something together. So we did.
Well, and we'll tell you exactly what that is, which is actually going to be, we're going to have a ribbon cutting in person tomorrow at the Pierre Lallemand statue. Carl, you want to describe what we're going to be rolling out and what folks can expect from Connects with regards to electric bicycles?
Sure. So, the concept was, and, part of our mission here is to, serve our communities and also to make sustainable, help people make sustainable choices, and also to focus on, the equity issues that we know we struggle with in our society. And Doug, and I talked about electric bikes as a way to provide low cost means of transportation for people. And really it's such a great opportunity to provide mobility for people that, don't want to afford a car. Additionally, electric bikes are sustainable, all right? No fossil fuels. We love that. So the program that we rolled out, and it's pretty simple. It's a low interest rate loan. I think we'll go up to $20,000, but boy, if you buy an electric bike that costs $20,000, I'd be pretty surprised. But the rates are as low as 6.74, I believe. Don't quote me, but I'll give you the website address and go look it up yourself. And they'll go out for, the terms are up to, I believe, 5 years. We're doing a 90-day waiver of interest. Oh, there it is. So, if you can find it on there.
Oh, for sure. I've been looking at this every week. I'm just so excited and sharing it wide and loud. I'm just so impressed.
Oh, there we go. E-bike loans. You found it, Doug. So
it's unbelievable. It's right here. It's real.
Yep. So, all we ask that you do is just have some sort of verification that you're going to buy an e-bike as you apply for the loan, and we'll get you signed up, get you a membership here at Connects, which gives you a ton of we often have the highest rates on deposit products, lowest rates on loan products, and so it's a club, and all you have to do is live, work, or worship, or go to school in the 4 counties we serve, and you can sign up for the program. So it provides a way for people to, get into an electric bike that may not, have all the money to put out up front, right?
Let's talk to one of those electric bike customers right now. Here's Kate Rosen, who has an interruption in her background, but thank you for jumping in. And Kate, remind us, you're a newly minted Connecticut Commuter Rail Council, but your dream and passions are related to electric bicycles. Can you say hello?
Hi, yes, I'm a transportation cyclist. I live in Woodbridge, Connecticut, and I work at Yale University, and I take my electric cargo bike from Woodbridge into New Haven. I did that this morning in the light rain. Oh my goodness. There's my.
So if you're listening to us on the radio, we're sharing Kate's Twitter page, which is KRDemCT. Follow her on Twitter for all of the great active transportation engagements. Kate, what happened last Friday in the legislature?
Oh my goodness. Connecticut became the third state in the nation to have electric bicycle rebates. This was tremendously exciting and the result of a lot of collaborative advocacy work. And starting this summer, hopefully, under Connecticut Department of Environmental and Energy Protection, we will have e-bike rebates.
So we're going to keep these two, Carl and Kate, along for a little bit longer. And Brendan and Edward, if you're still available, let me know. But we have to say goodbye to our radio customers. And I believe we may even have to do a little play out music. But again, thank you for listening to Tom Ficklin Radio Show on WNHHLP 103.5, streaming live from downtown New Haven. Harry, take us away. Thank you. Or not, that's okay.
We have no play out music, but for anybody who wants to continue with us, we're still playing live on Facebook, on the New Haven Independence Facebook page, on Twitter, WNHHLP, and also on our YouTube page, New Haven Independent also. So there you go.
There we go. So we're going to keep this conversation going. I'm going to steal a little bit of your time, you three. I apologize, but we're going to talk more about SB4, the Connecticut Clean Air Act, and how that's going to benefit even more electric bike riders. Kate, can you give us a breakdown of what the Connecticut Clean Air Act means for folks that want to try an electric bicycle?
Absolutely. So the legislature put together a really excellent bill. There's a lot of great components to it, but for people who are curious about electric bicycles, it would be a minimum of a $500 rebate on an e-bike up to $3,000. And Doug can help out. I don't think I'm missing too much. I know that the focus is going to be on underserved communities in the state of Connecticut and low to moderate income individuals. So being able to support those folks with a little bit more of an incentive. So I believe that would get up to about $750.
And this is just an exciting legislation, one that came about after only a couple of years of engagement from folks, thanks to folks like yourself and those online. Pairing a $500 or $750 rebate up to $3,000 bicycle, and Carl, your loan product, I believe, starts at $1,000. So folks could theoretically pair both of these for a bicycle that costs up to $3,000. Carol, can you explain what that means for your members and for those that are in the credit union right now?
I think it's, it's absolutely amazing that got through. And I know, Doug, you and I had talked about the prospect of that for some time. So really happy to hear that got passed. And, when you talk about affordable transportation that's sustainable, this is a home run. Folks can get that rebate, finance a bike at a much lower, outlay than they would have given the rebate. And they'll be able to move around town. They'll be able to do their shopping. They'll be able to get back and forth to work. Kate, I'm amazed that you make it from Woodbridge every day. That's quite a haul. But I guess there's some back ways you could go. But yeah, it's when we talked about the Greenway, I mean, now, think about if you lived somewhere in, Hamden and wanted to commute into New Haven every day. I mean, you can hop on your e-bike and hit the Greenway. And, I've often ridden it on my own bicycle. And, once you get down to a certain point, you have to kind of meander through to get over to Long Wharf. But, the more we fill in those gaps, the more availability, creates for people. And it really is a method of transportation that, is perfect for a lot of folks.
What we're looking for here in the greatest small city in America is really focusing on improving the bike culture. And bike culture takes everything. It takes a community, not just government. It's not just advocates. It's also business partners like yourself and advocates from that live, work, and play here. Hey, can you tell us a little bit about your commute and where these gaps are that Carl might be mentioning? And where, if you had your dream scenario, where What hill would you go up to Woodbridge to get home?
So I go up Fountain Street. There's to get to the tree-filled suburb of New Haven without going up a giant hill. And so my hill of choice is Fountain Street. And because of the lack of supportive infrastructure, I do try to weave through Westville as much as possible before I actually hop onto Fountain Street. I have been watching the progress on the Edgewood cycle track for a while, and I can't wait for that to be done. That'll be a huge relief to not have to be with traffic. But with the thing about e-bikes and what makes them so special is that they really are a confidence booster because you're able to get up to speed much faster, and the footprint of the bike is bigger. So you do feel more visible to drivers, and that's huge. The bike that I have is able to hold a passenger, and so my daughter can come on a ride with me, or I can have groceries. But it's a nice car replacement, and as Carl said, these are really accessible tools, and with Connects being able to offer financing, I think this is going to make e-biking in particular, very accessible for people in Connecticut.
I'm getting a little goosebumpy. I had the privilege of speaking to Covered Bridge bike retailers up in Litchfield County this morning. Both Meg and I think it was Bob were terrifically excited about Connects Credit Union. And I don't know, Carl, if you have any Litchfield County based, are folks from Litchfield invited to apply for loans or?
That's a tough one, right? That's not in our field of membership, and credit unions are kind of wonky that way. But if somebody wanted to buy one of their bikes and lived in the 4 counties we serve, then absolutely.
So what are those 4 counties?
So it's Hartford, Middlesex, New Haven, and Fairfield County.
That's exciting, and that's a large portion of our population here.
Absolutely.
You know, between basically just the Connecticut rail lines, you know.
Yeah, well, think about, we could bring it to, we can bring this program to Hartford. I mean, the program is available, but, we can focus on Hartford, which, I think your prior speaker was really interesting. Bridgeport, a lot of the urban areas where this is a viable means of transportation, we can offer this loan to folks that live in those areas.
Haven't even thought about that, but I'll definitely, after this call, connect you with our friends up and down the lines that are in transportation, like Fairfield, as well as in the city halls of Stamford, Bridgeport, and Norwalk and Hartford. So, without much more ado, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we're in the extras. Just a reminder, you're listening to Tom Ficklin radio show on WNHLP 103.5, streaming live from downtown New Haven. Just want to wrap up by talking about tomorrow's event at 1:00 at the Pierre Lallement statue in the New Haven Green. Kate is going to be there with her electric bike, and some other electric bike retailers from downtown New Haven will be there. Carl, can you let folks know, what we're going to be doing again?
Well, we're going to be, kicking off the program, but this is really this is Doug's flagship event, kicking off National Bike Month. So we're happy. It's such a, it's at that location, which is so significant for biking and bike culture in New Haven. So we're really looking forward to coming down and just, talking for a couple minutes, but just seeing people and letting people know what we're doing.
Carl, thank you so much to Connects Credit Union for your partnership, and you're making this so much easier than I ever expected. It took a stab in the dark, and here we are a few months later with a live program and, to boot, some state rebates for customers that also are going to be in that window from $1,000 to $3,000. So, Carl, I'll say goodbye and just ask you to let people know how to find Connects Credit Union. And as a reminder to folks, I think it's you go to the bike shop, you get a quote from the bike shop for the bicycle plus all of the accoutrement, which is so important to be able to afford the panniers and the lights, the helmets. And then you take this quote over to Connects and you apply. And what happens from there?
Yeah, it's that simple. We usually have an answer within 24 hours, oftentimes much quicker.
When I told that to the bike shop this morning, they about dropped to the floor. They were so impressed to hear about it. I said 72 hours to give you a little bit of wiggle room. But
it can. 24 hours is, we actually, I don't want to overpromise, but we can do it a lot quicker than that most of the time.
You guys are terrific. So folks from that are interested in electric bicycle, go to your bike shop, make sure, build your relationship with your bike shop. The bike shops are so crucial for repairs and service going forward. But make that relationship, get a quote from them, take it over to connectscu.org and apply for the e-bike loan program, which is under their personal loan products. And then I believe, like you mentioned, Carl, your account gets funded with the dollars, and then once that's there, you can use it to spend on your electric bicycle. Is that right?
Yeah, and you can visit our branches. You can also call 1-800-CR-UNION, and everybody here has been brought up to speed on the program. So, they're looking forward to talking to people about it. And, and if you have any questions, certainly call and we can guide you.
Thank you so much, Carl. And if you're a listener with a credit union in a county not being served by Connects, go talk to your credit union. They are tremendous institutions who are there for you and your members. So thanks so much, Carl. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Perfect. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. And Kate, I just want to wrap up by just talking a little bit more about the Clean Air Act and about how exciting this opportunity is. Can you tell folks a little bit about the experience you had up at e-bike day at the Capitol a couple weeks back?
So with various environmental groups, we put together an electric bike demo day for the public, but also focused on legislators. And so we set it up right in their front yard on the park. And we brought together bike shops from all over the state of Connecticut. And excitingly, Connecticut has one e-bike manufacturer in Branford, Connecticut, Spark Cycle Works. And so they brought up their electric moped that they've created there, which is super cool. And we let people take bikes out. I brought my bike. I think I had about 20 different people come and take it out on rides with, on their own or with their kids. And it was a really exciting day. And what we were looking to do is with e-bikes, we can tell you how exciting they are, but until you've hopped on one and gone for a ride, it's hard to kind of understand why we're all so crazy about it. And so it was a day filled with smiles and, excited people coming back from these brief rides, just getting it.
I can tell you that I still remember my first electric bike ride in Seattle, and it was very memorable. I've been really excited to make my own purchase pretty soon, and I definitely will, thanks to Carl and thanks to our legislators. The Clean Air Act, Connecticut Clean Air Act, had more than just bikes in it, of course, and it really does take a comprehensive and broad approach to cleaning air. As a cyclist, you're someone who's going to be riding through a lot of dirty air behind a lot of the smogs. And while, of course, we need to educate our students, and universal education is important, one of the biggest interesting things about the way we do education, of course, is our school buses and how much we rely on school buses to get around town for our children. Can you tell us a little bit about the Clean Air Act and what it's going to be doing with not just bikes?
Yeah, so I was surprised to learn just in this last year that a typical diesel school bus only gets about 6 miles per gallon, and they're just tremendous polluters. And so Connecticut's done a good job of really putting pressure on bus companies to not leave their buses idling, but even just the stop and go traffic of a typical school bus picking up kids and dropping off kids causes a ton of pollution. And so part of the Clean Air Act is carrot versus stick of trying to get municipalities to switch over to electric school buses by 2040. And this is tremendously exciting. Another thing that I learned just this past Friday, listening to Representative Lamar debate the bill on the floor, was that kids inside the school bus are impacted by the pollution from a typical diesel school bus. And in Connecticut, we have some of the highest asthma rates in the country that disproportionately affect our city residents in New Haven, Hartford, Bridgeport, and Waterbury. And so tackling this big piece of transportation emissions just seems like such a great opportunity. And the reason why it's possible now is that there's a lot of federal money available and grants. And so this is just the perfect opportunity to make a dent in our emissions.
Thank you so much, Kate, for that. And just remind everybody how to find you on Twitter and just how long of a morning commute do you have from Woodbridge to...
You can find me on Twitter at KRDemCT, and my commute's not too bad. It's just over 10 miles round trip. It's almost all downhill coming into New Haven, and then obviously uphill going home, but it's so much easier when you have an e-bike.
Our parents' generation, of course, were going uphill both ways. And with an e-bike, we are able to do it without breaking a sweat. And I'm just totally excited to have your friendship and you on the Connecticut Commuter Rail Council so we can engage other modes of transportation in this electric future that we're all building. Just a reminder to everybody, 40% of all trips are under 2 miles. And with an electric bicycle, I'll say that a 5-mile bike ride, as you heard from Kate, is no sweat, and someone who you can get to the office and then be a professional all day long and then ride home. And it doesn't have to be a big deal anymore because of just how great electric bicycles are. And folks like State Representative Roland Lamar and State Senator Will Haskell and Senator Cohen from Guilford as well. Just really exciting to have everybody on today to celebrate the launch of National Bike Month here in New Haven. Thank you so much to all of our guests, and I very much appreciate Tom Ficklin for allowing us to once again take over your radio program. And just a reminder as we close up, you are listening to the Tom Ficklin Show here on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live from downtown New Haven. Thank you to everyone, and get out on your bike and ride this bike month. And if you want to help out, go to newhavenbikemonth.com or check us out at the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation, nhcat.org. One final thank you to our sponsors, AAA, SLR Consulting, and Community Foundation for Greater New Haven for supporting events in National Bike Month here in New Haven. And to WNH Radio for having us and letting us talk about the cycling revolution we're all trying to build.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Lights, camera, action already.